Untap.
Welcome back to MTGYou, the Magic, the Gathering podcast for you. I'm James Bergout, and with me today is Give It to Mikey. He'll eat anything. Michael Taylor. Hi, Michael.
Hello. Funny story.
Uh-huh.
I did not eat Life cereal until I was about 15 years old because of that commercial. Because I refused to like it.
Did people tease you about that? Give it to Mikey, he'll eat anything.
All the time.
That's funny. He likes it. Hey, Mikey. That's all I can say. Anyway, welcome, Michael.
Welcome, James.
Thank you. It's Saturday, the 17th of October, 2015. We're coming to you from kitchen tables across Utah. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 72.
Upkeep.
Okay, so in our upkeep today, October 16th, that is yesterday, and I guess is it going through today and tomorrow? The Pro Tour.
Yes, started yesterday, then most of it today, and then top 8 tomorrow.
Have you watched any of it yet?
I have.
Have you been enamored with it?
I have. Looks like Tarka Red's doing pretty good. They had a new deck that I kind of liked. I started thinking about, but it looks like the pros thought a better way of it. But they're calling it Red Abzan. So it's just looks like your normal Abzan aggro with a splash of red in it. And then we saw the white-green Megamorph. So it's not a whole lot of different decks. They're just adding the Zendikar cards that work.
Is that kind of what's to be expected?
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I guess, not to say that we called it, but when Blades and I mentioned that we didn't see a whole lot changing, just cards changing, it seems to be kind of what it's going for.
Yeah. So I'll look forward to catching a little bit of that today as we after we wrap up the podcast, and hopefully something interesting. I always like good stories coming out of that. Game day is coming up next week. Be sure to visit your LGS and participate in that. I always love getting free cards. That's always fun.
Yes, it is, and free packs.
That's right. Well, I don't usually get free packs.
Oh, store I go to, everyone gets a pack.
Oh, okay. Well, there is that. Maybe I would.
You lost, but here you go. Feel good anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I probably would get that if I went to.
That's usually what I get.
Yeah. Next up, Arena of the Planeswalkers Zendikar figures. So this is the Arena game that we talked about several episodes back. I guess they've announced the new expansion.
Yep. And they showed us what the figures are going to look like. And we've got a pretty big Eldrazi figure.
So is that Ulamog, or is that just the big Eldrazi?
I don't think it's Ulamog. It says right here, Eldrazi Ruiner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, looking at the website, and we'll link to all of these in the show notes, of course, but it shows the game board, and this guy is huge.
He's really big.
He's really big. And as you mentioned, there's Obnixilis is there.
In his Halloween costume.
Obnixilis is dressed up for Halloween. If you look at the picture, it looks like a red-faced guy with a big hat on that has horns on it. But it's cool. I mean, it's Obnixilis, so it can look dorky, and it still could be cool. So, I mean, how big are these characters anyway? Do you have this game yet?
I don't yet.
Okay, that's right.
I'm guessing they're probably about
your standard.
Quarter.
Yeah.
Maybe inch and a half tall.
Yeah.
Obnixilis looks like he's a little bigger than Kiora over here.
For those of you listening, they're about this tall. I'm holding up my fingers so you can see. What all is this coming? What does the expansion come with?
It looks like it comes with. They got a picture of it down here at the bottom. You got the cards for Obnixilis and Kiora. You've got, I'm guessing the bigger cards are for the Eldrazi.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then it looks like you got Obnixilis, another figure that
Has wings. It's
has
kind of
wings.
Goldie.
Yeah.
Let's call it Goldie.
There we go. We got Goldie over here.
I bet it's an angel because that's kind of a big thing. And
Well, it looks like he's got the demon wings going on, though.
oh, really? There's a difference?
Well, it's not feathery.
That's true. They're more like batty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've got Gold Batman over here.
Uh-huh.
Then we've got, looks like, I'm guessing the black figures are for Obnixilis, and then we got some red and green. Oh, little goblins. I didn't even... Some goblins and looks like elves.
Probably. Yeah, it's probably just a splash of everything that is Zendikar, I suppose. So you'd have elves. You'd have probably their allies, right?
Yeah. So it looks like, and then you've got like a blue, I'm guessing water elemental.
Mm-hmm. Or something.
Something, yeah. So you got blue and green for Kiora, and then you've got the red and black for Obnixilis, I'm guessing. That's my guess.
Yeah. MSRP on that's about $20. That looks like a lot of fun. I really need to get into this. I'd love to. I'd love to play it. I have a neighbor that I play board games with, and even though he likes Magic, it's a little bit too pricey for him to play since wouldn't be a regular player. But a board game like this is something that we could hit on a game night and get a lot of traction. I think this would be fun.
Yeah, it looks really fun. I really like, especially kind of the build your own board game type thing. So, and it looks like you also get some extra, I guess, not board pieces, but scenery pieces.
Oh yeah, different. Right, there are a couple things like that. It doesn't show on this one picture, but it does show on the board itself that you have, or scenery or obstacles or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. So again, those of you in podcast land, just take a look at this picture right here.
Yeah. See that?
Right there.
Right there.
This one right here.
All right. Next up, we had something from Mark Rosewater. He made a comment on his blogatog. You want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Michael?
Someone asked him if Oath of the Gatewatch was going to have full art lands. And he said, yes, it is. We will have the full art lands, same as in Zendikar, with the Zendikar, or Battle for Zendikar set symbol on it. The Oath of the Gatewatch Fat Packs will as well have the same full art lands, but the Battle for Zendikar Holiday Pack will not have full art lands. So anybody holding out for that, for some extra full art lands.
You know, something I just thought was interesting on this. The same full art lands, right?
Yep.
And if you pre-order a fat pack, you can get it for MSRP, right?
Yeah.
So don't worry about the scalpers out there, because just pre-order a fat pack for the next set and screw the scalpers. Yeah. You know, let those people that bought up all of these packs and are trying to sell them for the $70, you know, sit on them.
Star City. Channel Fireball.
Because, you know, that's just wrong. So anyway, we can all get our full art. Look, guys, we can all get our full art lands. There doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be this way. So I'll still get mine. Even if I don't pick up a full art fat pack of this set because of the price, I will pick it up and I'll pre-order it, and then I'll get it, you know, for its MSRP. So there we go.
See, what you do if you really like the full art, then you can pre-order the fat pack at the same time you pre-order your art book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can't wait for that thing. That'll be so fun. Let's see. Next. You know, there was just one other funny thing I saw on the Wizards website, and I always love the Loading Ready Run videos that they're doing. The Friday... do they call them Friday night?
Yeah, the videos are the Friday nights.
Yeah. Anyway, they had this murder mystery. Those guys are really creative. They have such a funny sense of humor, and I really enjoy just how all of their characters in those have like their different shticks. They all have their own thing. Anyway, this one's called Friday Night Zendikar Murder Mystery. And anyway, just check that out. It's fun. So, can you think of any other news that we're missing here, Mike? Michael? Do you ever go by Mike?
I go by all of it.
Do you?
I go by Mike, Michael, Taylor, whatever.
Oh, T. Sometimes we just call you T.
Mr. T.
Mr. T. So because like people sometimes try to call me Jim, it don't work.
Jim.
Yeah, Jim is like the short form of James.
Oh, okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, people that know that think that they can get away with calling me Jim, and they're like, only people that really know me never call me Jim. And so if I have someone trying to be friendly with me as if they know me really well, and they call me Jim, it's really funny. Anyway, a lot of Jameses are very particular about whether they go by Jim or not. It's really interesting.
Oh, that is good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't call you Jim.
Okay. Or Jimmy, or Jimbo, or Jim Bob.
All right, Jimmy, let's go.
Okay. Anyway, let's keep moving here.
Draw step.
In our draw step today, we are talking about a new spoiled card. Tell me about this card, because you just brought it to my attention just a few minutes ago.
Sure. Let me try to pronounce it. It's a Calamity?
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll say that's it.
Okay. Calamity, Disciple of Erois. 2 red-white. A legendary creature, giant soldier. Double strike, vigilance. 3/3. Then it has, whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, you get an experience counter. Calamity, Disciple of Erois gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. So this is the spoiled card that came from the new Commander 2015 set. Looks like a Canadian store put up a picture of one of the boxes, and that is no longer up, but luckily we have Mythic Spoiler that is still up.
That's right.
So you guys can go check it out there. But so from this, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that looks like the Commander 2015 is going to be enemy color pairs for the 5 different boxes. But, I mean, 4 mana for a 3/3 double strike vigilance? That's pretty good on its own.
So is this a reprint, or is this a brand new card?
No, this is a brand new card.
So here's my question also. We have these experience counters. Why not just call them 1/1 counters?
Well, because that's going to be something that goes on the player.
Oh,
not
the player?
card, so
do you have to like put it on your head or something like that?
I guess that all depends on, I guess, who you're playing against. It doesn't count unless it's on your head, man.
Yeah, sorry. You have
One
to
on
balance
your
them there. You have to balance them there during the whole game.
Yeah.
So if it goes on the player, that means if he dies, you don't lose those.
You don't lose him, and then being that he's probably your commander, cast him back for 4 red, white, and he's going to be whatever your experience counters are on top of that 3/3. Unfortunately, he won't trigger himself because he won't be on the battlefield when you cast him the second time. Just
right,
in case anyone was wondering.
Right.
But I'm going to guess.
But you have high, or you're gonna in this deck. You're gonna have a lot of high cost cards then, or at least a fair number.
It is, but which kind of goes against what red white is trying to do.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens on the deck, because I just feel when I see red white, I'm expecting small creatures, fast, aggressive.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Huh.
But it's nice to see something new come out already.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think these are coming out next month.
Yeah, I think they always come out in November. So very nice. All right.
Main phase.
On our main phase today, we have the topic is playing to your outs. What does that mean?
It means that when you are playing your game of Magic, and well, for one, it's not quitting when you think you're losing. So
Okay.
you have to know what's in your deck, what your chances of drawing what you need to win, and play to that. Don't just try to play to survive. It's when you're at the point like I'll give you an example. I'm a red mage.
Right.
I'll give an example of a game I played not too long ago. I was playing against a guy, and it came down to he had 3 creatures on the board. He had wiped my board, so I had nothing. He was at 3 life, and so and I knew that he had multiple removal spells in his hand. So even if I did cast a creature, it was going to get removed right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I needed to play to a lightning strike, or a what's it called? Stoke the Flames.
Okay.
So
you just tried to get. Your point was you're trying to get to that.
Yes.
Trying to get into stay alive long enough to get to that in your deck.
Yeah. So like when I would draw a Titan Strength, you could cast it at end of turn on one of his creatures to scry that one, and if it wasn't a burn spell, like even if I had a creature on the top, it went to the bottom until I could get to that burn spell. Unfortunately, that game I never got there, but I ended up losing. But that's what playing to your outs is. It's knowing that it's consigning to the fact that the only way you're going to win is this. You need to play to get there.
Okay. So you know what's in your deck.
Yes.
And you're saying, I know these are the options that I know are in my deck that are going to help me win this game. And then it's trying to stay alive long enough to get to draw into those, and trying to outmaneuver him just enough to keep yourself alive so that you can get there.
Yeah. Probably one of the most famous on video of playing into your outs was, I believe it was a pro tour a few years back, where I don't remember who was playing it. I just remember watching the video that the one guy was losing. He was playing red-white, and what he did at the end of turn was he knew the only chance he really had of winning was if he were to top deck a lightning helix. And so what he chose to do is when his opponent attacked, he set up the board to where he was able to, he took the damage and almost lost the game there, barely kept himself alive, and used his resources to get his opponent to 3 life. And he knew it. So when he drew his card, he just took the top card and he flipped it over face up, because he knew if it was lightning helix, he won. If it wasn't, he lost. And he top decked it, and it flopped on the table, and it was lightning helix.
And boom.
Yeah,
And that was
he won.
And so not only is that playing to your outs, but it's a little bit of showmanship too.
Yes.
A little bit of because that made it much more dramatic to reveal it for him to see it as everyone else saw it too.
Yeah. It's like everyone knows all at the same time who's going to win this.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
So it's, I guess the most important thing of playing to your outs is knowing exactly what's in your deck, knowing what's been played. And again, if you're in the winning position, it's not as important. I think it should always be there. When you're
the
playing.
reason, even then, it should be because there's been plenty of games that I've played when I was sure that I was winning, but if your opponent is playing to their outs, this is very common. If you're a red mage, you could have your opponent all the way down to, very low life, but you just can't push through that final bit of damage, and then you end up losing your game because you ran out of steam. And that's because your opponent's playing to their outs. They know that they can take a lot of damage, but once they gain board control, they can just control you and never have anything else get through to them.
Yeah.
So you can't give up that. You have to always play to your outs, because assuming that the other person is. Like I say, it happens to me all the time. I think, wow, I'm really doing well in this game. And then something flips, something changes, and that's because they've finally drawn into the cards that they need to play to their outs.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It's part of playing to your outs is knowing what your opponent's outs are.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing...
Or at first, even realizing that they probably have a plan, and you need to be prepared for that. If you just take that for granted, that I'm doing really well, I got this in the bag. How many times does that turn against you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely turned against me a couple of times, especially when you think that they're not playing to their outs, and then all of a sudden they're like top deck, and like, I win. You're like,
Or you're like, man, this guy's deck really sucks. I'm going to wipe this out. And all of a sudden, what? What did you just do? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or I was playing against one guy, and he was playing blue, so of course every time I cast a spell, I'm like, does it resolve? Okay. Does it resolve? And then finally he just says, I don't play counters. He goes, I have no counters in my deck. So he's like, you can stop asking. I'm like, okay. But then again, him playing to his outs, he didn't have any counters in his deck, but he had them in his sideboard. So go to game 2, side in.
So you were totally thinking that, yeah.
Totally blindsided me. And
did you say, I thought you didn't have any counters? And he said, I said I didn't have them in my deck. I didn't say I didn't have them in my sideboard.
No, I already got played the fool, so I didn't want to make it any worse. So I'm like, swing in. I'll do this, combat trick. I can't remember what it was, and he's all
counter.
I can't remember what a counter he used, but he countered it, and I was just, I should have saw that coming.
Wow. Huh.
So, but same thing. It's like he did that. He played to his outs. He knew what he needed to do to win, and even if it's playing to your outs, is holding on to that one card that you need for that critical moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's okay. So there's another thing. Knowing what's in your deck, knowing how to play your cards. If, for example, sometimes you have a really good card and you just want to get it in there. However, how many times have you played your best card and had it countered? Whereas if you could anticipate that, you might play something that's still good but not quite as good. Good enough that they'll use their counter spell and then follow up with your better card. How often does that happen? You have two cards and you're like, well, I can cast both of these. This one's better than this one, so I'll play the better one. And that one is the one that you needed. But they counter it. And then all you have is your subpar one. Whereas they probably would have countered the subpar one had you used that one.
Yeah, there was a game I played during an Origins draft where I had Kithion's Irregulars. That's the one that you can pay 2 white and tap down one of their creatures. Mm-hmm. And I actually drew land perfectly to be able to play it on turn 4. Mm-hmm. And I had that, and then I had another creature that I had been planning on playing on turn 4. But when I drew the second planes that I needed, I was like, yeah, I can get this out right away. Mm-hmm. So I did, against my better judgment. And yeah, same thing happened. It hits the battlefield, and then he taps it down.
Yep. So that's anticipating what's going to happen, what the other guy's going to do.
Yeah,
that's if all you're doing is playing your deck, you could be easily fooled because they always have the ability to counter.
Yeah.
That's a valuable lesson that I have yet to learn.
Yeah. Well, when you're playing mono red, you're really not. You are just playing your deck. You're like, I need to play my deck as fast as I can before they get to use theirs.
Right. If you're playing, especially if you're playing burn. Because you just want to get through it. You just want to do all the damage you can and hope that they don't have the counters they need to kill you. What other aspects of playing to your outs are there? So knowing your deck, anticipating your opponent's deck.
Yep. knowing
order of cards to play, perhaps knowing what you need to draw into in order to win. Is that about it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're missing something, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. If you know something about playing to your outs that we haven't mentioned, go ahead and send us an email. Let us know what we forgot. I think this is good advice for me. This is something that's going to help me. So thanks, Michael, for helping me understand these concepts.
You are welcome.
The next thing we have, it's an interesting deck that I found this week. It's called Sultry Simic Butts. And the reason it has butts in the title isn't because...
Well, let's face it. It's because they got big butts.
They do have big butts, but not because... We're not saying it just because we like saying the word butts.
But maybe I do.
Anyway, so this has two really cool aspects to it. First of all, it attacks with the backside. And it's about a $10 deck. Cheaper if you're playing on Moto.
Yeah, it's about $5 on Moto, or 5 tickets.
Yeah. The most expensive card in this deck is the Yavimaya Coast, which is about $1 on TCG and half a buck or half a tick on MTGYou. That has two rares. The other one is Assault Formation, and it's about 60 some odd cents retail, and it's still about a half a tick on MTGYou. So tell me, you've looked through this deck. I showed you this deck, and you kind of looked through it. Tell me what you think of this.
Should we run over the deck list real quick?
Let's do it.
Okay. So for instance, we have 4 Anticipate, 2 Become Immense, 3 Glint, 2 Negate, 2 Reality Shift. Creatures, we have 4 Benthic Infiltrators, 4 Dragon's Eye Savants, 4 Elusive Spellfist, 3 Profaner of the Dead, and 4 Sidisi's Faithful. We have one sorcery, it's a 4 of Tygon Scheming. We have 4 Assault Formations, and we won't go into the sideboard just yet. But so that's what it is. And then land. 5
Forest, 8 Islands, 1 Rogue Passage, 2 Thornwood Falls, and 4 Yavimaya Coast.
The main idea behind this deck is to get the Assault Formation out. A lot of your creatures are bigger on the back end. So you, like Benthic Infiltrator's got 4 toughness, Dragon's Eye Savant is 6, Sidisi's Faithful is 4, and then you've got 3 on each of the Elusive Spellfist and Profaner of the Dead. So that's the main focus of the deck. You've got Tygon Scheming to kind of help get you down. It's kind of like the cheaper dig through time, try to get you into your assault formations.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got a couple counter spells, and especially in the sideboard. But idea is get your creatures down there. They're all pretty more on the cheaper end. So if you've got something like Profaner of the Dead out and you want to exploit, one of the moves on this would be have Profaner of the Dead, play it out, exploit it. It says when Profaner of the Dead exploits a creature, return to their owner's hands all creatures your opponents control with toughness less than the exploited creature's toughness. So if you play a Profaner of the Dead, you can bounce a Dragon's Eye Savant back to your hand. It's, 6 toughness, so that's going to be most of their creatures are going to be going back to their hand, if not all of them. If you want, you can throw Glint on there, giving it 0/3, just to cover any other creatures that it may not hit. Gets all their creatures back to their hand. Then with Assault Formation, you're dealing damage with toughness instead of power. So you can swing in with any other Dragon Eye Savants or, Sidisi's Faithful, Benthic Infiltrator, dealing quite a bit more damage for a lot cheaper cost on the creatures.
Mm-hmm. I'm considering building this deck just to... So I don't have a standard deck right now, and this one, like I said, I found this on Reddit. It was getting voted up quite a bit just because of... It's kind of an interesting deck. It's not... would you call this a combo? Because you need the...
Yeah.
Which is it? That it's...
I would call it combo because you're
you're at the mercy of making sure that you have an assault formation out there.
Because you lose assault formation, it's going to be,
well, you'll have a lot of defense, but that's nice. And see, so I guess that makes it nice because until you get your assault formation out, you're putting up lots of blockers that are going to try to keep your, anyone back. But then once you get that out, the tables can flip.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of those where if you're not familiar, if your opponent isn't familiar with this deck, they're not going to be ready for it. So unless they're playing to their outs and anticipating what you're doing, see how I work that in there?
Yeah.
They're going to be taken by surprise by this. All of a sudden, like, whoa. Of course, they'll play you one time, and then they'll know what you're up to, and then they'll be trying to figure out how to work around this deck.
Well, that's when you pull in the sideboard, because you got the 3 disdainful strokes, 3 dispel, then you've got the negates in there. So even if they know what's going on, they're going to try to get rid of your assault formation. You've got plenty of spells to counter whatever they're using, and there's not a whole lot of enchantment removal that people are using.
Let's see. You said negate. Oh, that's in the main board.
Yeah, they got 2 negate in the main, and then you've got 3 disdainful stroke and 3 dispel.
Mm-hmm. Also in the sideboard is 2 encase in ice, one glint. So we already had a glint, 3 glint in there. They put another 1 in it. 2 naturalize, 2 plummet, 2 winds of Calcisma. I don't know if that's how you say that or not.
Sounds good.
And then in the maybe board is 4 Mist Intruder and 2 Shape the Sands. I don't know. I think this is a really interesting deck to try to play out. Even though it's a combo, I think that it's a reasonable combo. It's not something that's going to be too hard to pull off. It's not one of these that's like... Some combos seem like they're win or lose, You assemble your combo and boom, you won. This one's more like... it's a combo that makes progressive sense.
Yeah. You definitely got defense.
Right. And it's not just 2 cards that do it. It's assault formation and a series of other cards that are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one other card. So that's also good. What else do you like or don't like about this deck?
I don't like how very weak it is against flying.
Right. Because all you really have is you have the plummet in the sideboard.
You have 2 plummets in the sideboard. It's about the only thing you've got. Because you don't even have reach. I don't think. Yeah. So I would probably have the Mist Intruders.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the sideboard. Mm-hmm. Like he has in the maybe board. And then even with that, you could swing in with a Become Immense, and you're still dealing 6+ damage. But I guess that's what the Rogue's Passage is for, so you can get 1 creature in, even if you don't get your assault formation. It's got the 1 card in here that can help get your creatures through.
Right. Which is only one of them, though. You only have 1 Rogue's Passage. You
only got 1 Rogue's Passage.
But I guess that makes sense because you can't put in too many. A deck just can't handle too many Rogue's Passages. It's just it's not practical.
It's one of those cards when you draw the second one, you just kind of sink.
Right.
Right.
But you want to see it. That's the trouble, is that you want to see your Rogue's Passage, but you don't want to see it too much. If you had 2 of those in there, you could almost guarantee you could draw 1 per game. 1 is almost like you may or may not draw it in a game.
Well, I mean, with Taigam Scheming, you're looking at the top 5 cards of your library. So if you want, you can put it back on top of the library if you see it. Then you've got the 4 Anticipates to help dig through the top 3 cards of your library as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you
really need it, you can hopefully get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you wanted to spend a little more, you probably could, instead of the Taigam Scheming, throw in like Dig Through Time or something. But I think as like a $10 budget deck, it's not bad. Like I think I have just about all these cards anyway, except I'd have to go get, I think, 2 more assault formations. Other than that, I think I've already got everything, so it's not...
right. It's a put-together deck, really.
Yeah, they say it's a $10 deck, but really it's the $2 to buy the couple of cards you probably don't have.
Yep. Yeah, I'll probably have to to buy this deck just so I have something.
Yeah, you'll have to give it a try and let us know how it worked out for you. 'Cause I definitely think it's very, very interesting. Because, like you said, I do like that it's first time you're playing somebody, you're going to have a bunch of defensive. Then you just assault formation, attack. You completely catch them off guard because, especially if you've got a bunch of 0/6s, they'll be like, swing. Get a few of my creatures through and then completely leave themselves open. Then you just go assault formation, come back, I win.
Right. Any final words on this?
Looking forward to see how it does.
Okay.
Combat phase.
What did you do this week?
Not much. I read articles and watched some Pro Tour.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm still brewing decks, still playing mono red. I have a coworker that he's taking the step from going from budget deck to trying to do a competitive deck, I guess I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Not, completely crazy top tier, but so I've been helping him a lot with his deck. I haven't been able to make it to FNM or whatnot, but he goes every week. So I get to play FNM through him.
Vicariously.
Yeah, vicariously. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I help him with his deck. Just been brewing my own. I'm waiting for the deck list to come out later today for what we saw at Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Always get a lot of good ideas, obviously, from the pros. Not a whole lot.
Well, I'm not going to mention that I played Hex. So, but I am going to make this promise. Here it is, guys. You can put money on this if you want. I promise by next week I will have played a game of Magic. In fact, I'm going to try to draft Magic this week on Moto. So you can ask me next week if I followed through with that promise, and we'll see if. Oh, wait, I'm not going to be here next week. Now that's convenient, huh?
Oh,
well, I might. I'm going out of town, but I wonder if there's a possibility I can podcast from where I will be. So we'll see if that works out.
I'll say, yeah, we'll have to see because I'm actually out of town next week too.
Oh, are you? Oh, next week may not work. So you might not hear from us next week, just saying, because I'm actually going to be living in a suitcase next week, and that may not be too convenient. I'm actually going to help a friend that runs a haunted house up in Idaho, and I get to, all weekend I get to, well, for 2 nights I get to play in a haunted house. He owns an old campus, an old school campus in Idaho, and it has these old haunted buildings, and so I'm going up to help him.
I think I remember you talking about this last year.
Yeah, I went up last year, and this year I'm going up again. Last year I went up and helped him for 1 night. This year I get to go up and help him for a couple of nights. So it's so much fun. You get dressed up, you go around scaring people. He has, like I said, these 4 different buildings that are themed. One's a zombie one, one's like a clown one. One's just this old place that is actually haunted. They don't even do anything to it because all you do is you walk through it and try to find your way out. And they have paranormal specialists that will come to different people from across the country, come there probably once or twice a year, different people, and like go around taking readings and trying to figure out what's going on there. So it's actually haunted.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where in Idaho is this?
So it's called Albion. It's about 20 minutes from Burley. Just this small little town. The school was called it's a normal school is what it was called.
A normal school?
Yeah, I know it, as opposed to Abbey Normal. No, but a normal school is where they educated teachers on being teachers.
Okay.
That's for some reason they call that a normal school. I don't know why that is.
You would think a normal school would be like students and teachers, not teachers and teachers.
Exactly. But anyway, it was a big. for the longest time, there's, every teacher in that area that's where they went. So there's a lot of people that know about it. So if you've ever heard of that place, let me know. Also, tell us what you think about the deck that we talked about. And like I say, we will be back. It sounds like we're going to be back in 2 weeks. It sounds like we're going to miss a week. Unless we do it like on Thursday.
No, so we could just record it like on Thursday night instead of Saturday morning, maybe.
That might work. I bet we should do that. Yeah.
Then we won't skip a week.
Yeah, never mind, guys. We'll be here. See, that's how much we love you guys, is that we are dedicated to get a podcast out each and every week, come whatever may. All right. That's that. Moving along.
Second main phase.
Email feedback. We did get some email from Josh Castillo. He's one of our longtime listeners. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, Josh, I apologize. Longtime listener, and he emailed us some information on Obnixilis, and I wanted to read this because he had some good information. Spoiler alert: if you don't want to know the story of Obnixilis, don't listen to this. Come back in about 5 minutes, or something like that. But I figure you probably want to hear this. This is what Josh says. Hey guys, was just listening to the show, which was great as always. Thank you, Josh. And I wanted to write you all to talk some cool BFZ lore on Obnixilis. People may have already wrote you guys about tweeted to you what his backstory is, but in case they haven't, I wanted to share some cool info I recently found on him because I thought it was really interesting and you all were talking about him. Plus, he's just a generally less well-known character in the multiverse. Fair warning, this is a somewhat long story. It's not that long, but so this will take just a couple minutes here. Turns out Obnixilis was originally a human warlord from a very violent plane. In an effort to seize power, he summoned several demons and ordered them to destroy his enemies. Instead, the demons destroyed every single person on the plane except for Obnixilis. When he realized what had happened and that he was the last sole ruler of the plane, his spark ignited. He went on to other planes seeking more and more power. Eventually, word of the Chain Veil reached him, and he went to Chandalar and took it. He was soon cursed by it, and the curse transformed him into a demon. He then traveled to Zendikar, hoping to use the powerful mana on the plane to help cure him of the Chain Veil's curse. There he was confronted by Nahiri, who recognized him as a threat to Zendikar and other planeswalkers, and she placed a hedron in his skull which suppressed his spark. He was trapped on Zendikar for centuries like this, plotting his revenge and trying to regain his spark and his powers. He finally managed to remove the hedron from his skull, which returned a small part of his power. Most recently, he fought with Nissa on Balaged, while she was looking for the soul of Zendikar, which he had stolen in an attempt to use its power to get his spark back. She defeats him and manages to save the soul of Zendikar and escapes. Then, when Gideon, Kiora, and Nissa were battling the Eldrazi, and it appeared that Nissa's trap for Ulamog, see the Aligned Hedron Network, had worked, he showed up, knocked a Hedron out of place, and absorbed the power of the key lines to reignite his spark. So, in the end, Nissa is definitely still a planeswalker, though Obnixilis did use her trap and the Hedron's powers to get his spark back. He also kept them from defeating Ulamog by interfering when he did. Also notable that the same curse of the Chain Veil is afflicting Garrick now, and he will also presumably become a demon if he can't find a cure in time. Same goes for Liliana. Again, sorry for the short novel, he says, but I think Obnixilis is one of the cooler characters, and I like his story a lot, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Not to mention, his new card is super powerful and has great flavor for a demon planeswalker. Looking forward to your next show, Josh Castillo.
Thank you for that, Josh.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for that info. totally am such a Vorthos. I love learning about all of these stories. That kind of makes me think of the poll of the week, which we have up right now. The poll of the week is, who is your favorite bad guy in Magic lore? Ob Nixilis, the demon, Nicol he's always has an evil plan. Xenagos, the party god. Eldrazi, the big bag bullies of the multiverse. Phyrexians, everyone will become a Phyrexian eventually. Slivers, the ultimate team player. That's the poll that is up right now. We have 3 entries right now, and it's unanimous as of right now, I believe. Phyrexians are currently the favorite. I think all 3 people that have voted, and I'm not one of them yet. I haven't decided yet, so I'm still thinking about it. Have you voted?
I did.
Okay, so evidently you think Phyrexians.
Yes, I do.
By the process of elimination, I can figure out what you voted for. But 2 other people out there have also voted for Phyrexians. I'm leaning sort of toward Ob Nixilis myself, or Eldrazi personally, either one of those 2. But we'll see. Go ahead and vote and let us know who your favorite bad guy is. There's also a place to write in. If you have somebody else that you want to write in, you can definitely do that. Say you want to write in Michael Taylor, that's fine. You can do that. And so
I am a bad guy in the multiverse.
Now, Michael, you had a Tilt story you wanted to tell.
Yes. Last week I asked you guys to email in your favorite Tilt story. So I thought I would tell my favorite Tilt story.
Okay.
And this is when I went on Tilt.
Okay.
I was playing a very close friend of mine. We've been playing Magic almost just as long as each other. And it was right after cons had come out. So we didn't know quite what all the cards had done, what they all did yet. And I was playing a green-blue, like a green devotion splashing blue, and he was playing a mono black deck. And it was a very good game, just a lot of back and forth. And I was down to 2 life. I think he was down to 3 life. And it was just really intense game. And I was playing to my outs. And I knew that all I had to do is the moment I drew, I don't remember what card it was at this point, but I knew I had 1 card I needed to draw. And once I drew that, I won. So I was doing whatever it took to draw cards, filter through cards, whatever. I finally drew it. I drew the card, and I was, yes. I play the card. I swing in with my creatures. Most of them had trample. So it was a great feeling. Just swing in.
You knew you were going to win.
I win. And my buddy, I'll say his name, Daniel, just so I don't gotta keep saying my buddy. So Daniel, he sat there and you could see it on his face. He went from that intense, thought process of what am I going to do? And you could just see his face kind of start to cringe up. And he was like, I think I could have poked him and he would have went on Tilt. And he goes, okay. And he looks at his cards and he's trying to set up blocks and he adds up the math and he pulls it back and then he sets up another block and adds up the math. And I tell him, I've already done the math. There is no way you can block where you win. It's not possible. So he's like, okay. He goes, well, if I can't do that, he had 1 more creature down. And he goes, well, let me try it this way. I'm going to try to kill some creatures. And then, so he flips up Ruthless Ripper. He unmorphs her and he goes, Death Touch, I'm going to kill that creature. And I'm like, it still tramples through. He's like, no, because he dies. I'm like, it still tramples through. She doesn't have first strike. His damage still is deal damage. He tramples through. So he looks at it and then he goes, he's just really getting angry. And he looks down and he goes, wait a minute. When I flip up Ruthless Ripper, I deal 2 damage to my opponent. You lose. And it was all of a sudden, his angry face kind of lit up and he was all happy. And I was like, yeah, I win. And like I said, we don't need the exact words of what I might have said at that moment. They were not nice. And I had to call it for the night because I couldn't even focus on playing again.
Wow.
It was just that constant emotional back and forth of the game, and then
and you knew it.
I finally did it just for him to go.
You knew you won,
Flip,
and then he had that one
lose.
thing to do 2 damage to you.
Yeah, and I think
Out of
part of it was
nowhere.
that he didn't even know he had it. Like, he didn't even know what the card did. I didn't know what the card did. And it was just, oh, wait, I win because I did this. I was like, oh.
That's so funny.
So that's my favorite tilt story.
I love it. So, yeah, that brings us back to our earlier comment. Tell us what your tilt story is. We would love to hear it. We'll read it out on our second main phase when we talk about email. That would be wonderful if you could send us a tilt story that we would enjoy. Next, we have a contest coming up. It's called the Come On and Zoom, 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 Zoom. Anybody, you remember that, Michael?
I do.
Yeah. What is that from? Is that Electric Company or is that something else? I don't remember what it's from.
I was one of those shows. I can't remember if it was Electric Company or... I can't remember the name of all those shows that back then.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to do a Zoom. It will be posted on the website this week. From there, it will go out on social media. It will hit both the Twitterverse and the Facebookverse after we post it on the website. This will be that way you don't have to be on Twitter or Facebook, but you'll need to find out about it someplace. So if you don't follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you'll want to be checking the website somehow. It will probably go up, let's say it'll go up Tuesday, more than likely. And the winner, whoever wins this Zoom, and again, just to reiterate what the Zoom is, we've done one other show one other contest like this before, and I had a good time doing this. I will show a picture of a card, and it will be zoomed way in. After that, and you can guess once per, let's see, what did I do?
It was once per week, once per Zoom.
Once per Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay. And if that isn't good enough, then we'll do once per day or something like that. But I think that it was we'll start off with once per Zoom, and then we'll see what happens after that. If you remember differently, let me know. And if nobody answers that one, then I'll do a slightly zoomed out, and it'll keep going until someone guesses it. Whoever wins will get a foil Smoldering Marsh, kindly donated by Michael. And that'll be awesome. Tell me about the Smoldering Marsh.
Well, for those of you in podcast land, I'm showing it to you right now.
Vanna, what do they win?
They win a shiny Smoldering Marsh. It is from Battle for Zendikar. It is a land, swamp, mountain. Smoldering Marsh enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
A prize worth dollars.
Yes. Actually, you could almost, well, you can't say tens of dollars, but $10+
Yeah, that's not shabby. Okay. So we've talked about the contest, we've talked about the poll, we've talked about email. The last announcement we have is a really exciting one. We're bringing on 2 new writers to the website, Bruce and Jeff. Bruce, we just put up an article. It's an introduction article by Bruce, a fellow from Canada. Is it Ontario, I think? I hope I got that right, Bruce. Sorry if I didn't. But he's going to be writing for us every few weeks. Very good writer. What can I say? I'm looking forward to having him on board. And then Jeff is a longtime friend of mine. I've known Jeff since he was, well, let me think how long it's been. It's probably been 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I've known Jeff for 20 years, so that means that he was about 5 when I first knew him. So I've known him longer than he's played Magic, but he's played Magic since the early days, and he knows his stuff. He knows his cards very well, and we'll have an article go up next Friday from him. So look forward to that. Check out the website. Check out our social media for announcements when those things come out. Is there anything I've forgotten, Michael?
No, I believe we got everything.
Good. Well, another show's in the can, as they say in the business. And here goes.
End step.
If you like the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you don't like the show, feel free to contact us directly and tell us what you don't like. You can email us at mtgyoupodcast@gmail.com. We have other content on the website besides the podcast, so check out the website at mtgyu.com. Subscribe and like us on YouTube. Find us at youtube.com/themtgyu. Follow us on Twitter at themtgyu. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgu. You can also find us on Stitcher. So, for the MTGYou podcast,
I'm Michael.
and I'm James. And now we pass the turn to you.